Are we going to pretend that the Democrats had any response to this? Because they did not. They did, in fact, oppose the Chinese travel ban. The amount of spending they proposed to spend on this thing was like $1 billion. $1 billion. Okay, we ended up spending $7 trillion on it, minimum. Okay, they proposed originally $1 billion for like some studies and a little bit of PPE. When they say that if Trump had taken it more seriously, everybody would have masked up in February, nonsense. The CDC was legitimately telling everybody not to mask up in February. So what exactly would have changed here? So I've heard a couple of recommendations as to what would have changed. We should have done better with the PPE. We should have ramped up PPE production. Okay, there's only one problem. China had a monopoly on PPE production, and they'd seized all of it. So that's problem number one. Number two, if Trump had taken it more seriously, maybe people would have started sheltering in place a little bit earlier. But Democratic mayors and governors didn't tell anybody to shelter in place earlier either. And in fact, Democratic legislators who knew full well what was going on because they were getting the same intelligence briefings on this stuff that Trump was, they were spending most of February downplaying the thing as well. I mean, Dr. Fauci was downplaying it into late February. Like, don't let people rewrite the history here such that Trump was fully in the know about how bad this was going to be February 7th, as opposed to just engaging in puffery with Woodward, which is exactly what he was doing in early February. We've all watched Trump. We all know what he's doing. That doesn't matter. The Democrats have responded by basically suggesting that Trump is a criminal. Here was Joe Biden suggesting that Trump's response was criminal, even though, again, Joe Biden has yet to explain what he would have done differently. It's amazing. There's never a follow-up question. What would you have done differently, Joe Biden? Ever. And he just refers back to an editorial he wrote in January 27th, where he said coronavirus is bad. That's the entire editorial. There's nothing in there about what he would actually do. It was just coronavirus is a bad thing. Thanks, Joe. Okay, but here was Joe Biden with Jake Tapper saying that Trump's response was criminal. And again, this is going to be the pattern from now until the election. Some allegation will be made about Trump, and Biden will be asked about Trump. Biden will never be asked about Biden, ever. Right now, you would expect a journalist at some point to ask Joe Biden, what would you do differently? What would your plans look like? What exactly, if you were president, what would you have changed? But nobody will ever ask him that because he's a Democrat. So instead, it's going to be, here's a revelation about Trump. What do you think about that revelation, Joe? Here was Joe Biden going off on Trump.
It was all about making sure the stock market didn't come down, that his wealthy friends didn't lose any money, and that he could say that, in fact, anything that happened had nothing to do with him. He waved a white flag. He walked away. He didn't do a damn thing. Think about it. Think about what he did not do. And it's almost criminal.
Okay, what he did not do? He gave the governors the ventilators they need. He did ramp up PPE production. It was the CDC that botched the testing regimen. Okay, those are career staffers at the CDC. When he says that he did this to, uphold the market for his rich friends, what are you talking about? Seriously, what are you talking about? The market crashed. The market tanked in March. Absolutely blew out. What? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. And when Joe Biden sits there and he suggests that Donald Trump did this for his rich friends, I mean, that is a form of slander. It really is. Because there is no evidence to suggest that that is the case whatsoever. By the way, who is holding rallies into early March? Like big rallies into early March? Captain, I'm taking it seriously over here. Who is holding big rallies? Oh, yeah, that was right. It was Joe Biden who was holding rallies in March before he passed away and was wheeled around as a corpse. He was doing public rallies in March. Nancy Pelosi also did this routine yesterday. She said Trump downplayed the threat. He's now admitted to downplaying the threat. She tweeted out, Trump and Republicans downplayed the deadly threat of the coronavirus. Moscow Mitch, I mean, now we're all just Twitter trolls, decided to take a pause rather than help the American people with a strategic plan. Don't be misled. Their failure and denial are costing lives. I have a question. Wasn't she Speaker of the House at the time? What did she do? I'll tell you what she did. On February 24th, she went down to Chinatown, and she told everybody to join her down in Chinatown in San Francisco as the pandemic began. Here's Nancy Pelosi circa February 24th.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi told me she came here to Chinatown to combat fear.
That's what we're trying to do today, is to say everything is fine here.
She understands people are concerned about China.
But that shouldn't be carried over to Chinatown and San Francisco. I hope that it's not that, but all I can say is I'm here. We feel safe and sound, so many of us coming here.
Okay, so again, the notion that Democrats were really on top of this or would have been on top of this if they had the information from it, it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. This is, once again, Trump's mouth coming back to bite him on the ass, but that's pretty much all you got here. And all the implications you're drawing that he was lying to uphold his rich friends, that is ridiculous. Ridiculous and, frankly, slanderous. Did you know that every like on this video creates one additional leftist tier? Don't ask me why. That's called science. To take advantage of this amazing opportunity, hit the like button.